G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm doing a review of this, the DJI Neo 2, a beginner's drone for those of you who just want to get some better shots at your local shindigs, or maybe you're experimenting around with social media and being creative and you're trying to get a drone that can take some great footage of you no matter where you are in the world. So does it deliver? Is it a big step up from the original? And how does it go with things like battery tests and range tests? So I'm going to go through all of it, take it through some real world experiences, and then get back to you on my thoughts on whether or not the DJI Neo 2 is worth it. Let's go. Now, before we jump back out into the hot Sydney sun, I just want to take you through some of the bits and pieces you need to know about this device. Namely, what the spec increases are, where it's positioned, how much it costs, that type of thing, how it sits in the market. So this is designed to be a beginner-friendly device. It is supposed to be something that newcomers to the drone scene can easily get their hands on and stuff around with, get some really cool footage and get excited about the concept of drones before they move up into more expensive variants, which can do a lot more. But I think this still does quite a lot, especially for the money that you're going to pay for it. Now, I've got the Fly More combo, so there's 4 different tiers you can get. So the basic one is you can just get this and nothing else. That's going to cost you $409 here in Australia. Now, if you want to step it up, I think for $549, you can get the Fly More combo with just the drone. So it doesn't include this. You just get the drone, and you get 3 spare batteries, some spare blades and bits and pieces. What you don't get in Australia is a shoulder bag. I believe some other territories you do get a shoulder bag as well. It's a bit of a bummer, but you don't here in Australia, unfortunately. Now, up from that, you've got for $709 here in Australia, you've got the Fly More combo, which has the drone and the remote. So this is the new version of the screenless remote. This is the RCN3. Basically, it's almost identical design to what you would have seen with the DJI Neo 1, which was the RCN1. But this one can do 10 kilometers of range, whereas the RCN1 can do 8 kilometers of range. When I talk to you about the range and show you my range tests and my battery tests, you're going to understand why. That's irrelevant in a lot of ways, because you never get into 10Ks. And and there's another tier on top of that where you can get the motion controllers as well as all the other stuff, and that's going to cost you $989 here in Australia. Now, one of the things to note about the pricing is it has gone up from what we saw with the DJI Neo's launch price. I believe the DJI Neo launched somewhere in the 300s, in the early 300s. So there has been a price increase, but as we're about to go through, there has been a significant step up in specs. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to take you through those specs, and I'm going to talk to you about what I found with my real world tests is the standout features of the new specifications. And then we're going to go do some real world tests. Now, for the sake of the comparison here, I've actually gone and got my DJI Neo 1. So here you can see the Neo 1, and here you can see the Neo 2. So quite a bigger footprint, as you can see, pretty much a little bit bigger everywhere. And yeah, I'm going to talk through the design more in a second, but there's been some really significant and genuinely awesome improvements to what the design offers, in particular with object detection with the new DJI Neo 2. But as you can see, when you look at them side by side, you can really feel which one's first gen, can't you? And which one has kind of stepped it up in many ways, which is what you got over here with the DJI Neo 2. Anyway, let's compare the specs. Okay, so starting with the weight, there is a weight increase. So the DJI Neo was 135 grams, the DJI Neo 2 is 151 grams, and that's without the transmission dongle, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about as we go into this review. But with that, it goes up to 160 grams. So it's still obviously quite light, and significantly lighter than the Mini Pro 5, which is 251 grams. Now, in terms of starting off with something that's probably a bit of a disappointment, I think for a lot of people anyway, is that the camera sensor really hasn't improved that much. There's a minor improvement. So it was 1/2.3 inch CMOS sensor. It's now a 1/2 inch CMOS sensor. This is a slight improvement, but it's not a dramatic improvement. It's not going to, it's not a leap forward in terms of low light and dynamic range and those types of things that you would get with a bigger sensor. That said, I think for a the type of market that it's going for. I've been really kind of happy with the footage that's come out. Is it as good as I get off my Mini 4 Pro? I don't have the 5 Pro, but the Mini 4 Pro. No, it's not as good as that, which has a 1-inch sensor, but it is still more than serviceable for most people's needs. For example, just getting some cool shots at the kid's birthday party or doing some fun stuff on social, just mucking around. I think even though having a much improved sensor would have been great, it also would have much improved, dramatically increased the cost. And I don't think that would have been worth it for the target market overall. Now, even though the sensor itself hasn't changed, the image processor has. So we've got a higher performance out of the image processor. So that's going to reduce the noise, especially in low lights. You're going to get faster processing. It's just what they call a standard processor in the Neo 1. It's not particularly clear what the difference is between the two image processors, other than the fact that behind the sensor there's an improved, I guess, probably AI involved in making those images come out even better. Now, there has been an improvement to the video resolution. We've gone from 4K 60 frames a second in the Neo 1 up to 4K 100 frames a second in the Neo 2. So that's what you can activate if you want to go into slow motion mode. I think 4K 60 is more than enough for most people's needs, and indeed, if you're just mucking around and you want to deal with smaller file types, the 1080p mode is probably going to service most people, especially if you're just doing Instagram and stuff like that. You also now can, there's a little button you can press on the Fly app, DJI Fly app, that will switch it into a vertical mode for 2.7K vertical shooting as well, that you can do kind of on the fly. The gimbal stabilization has improved as well. Again, though, it's not really clear how it's improved. They've called it a standard 2-axis gimbal in the Neo 1. Now they're calling it an enhanced 2-axis gimbal in the Neo 2. But I think overall the active tracking is better, and I've certainly noticed improvements. I think it does a really good job, as I'll go through when talking about the real world tests. But overall, the system in play here is providing a better shot experience, or better shot result, than it was in the Neo 1, despite the fact that the sensor is more or less the same. Now, the tracking speed has improved from 8 meters a second to 12 meters a second. Now, I think it's important to note that it only occurs in the sport mode. So in sport mode, you can get up to 12 meters per second, but you'll lose object detection, which I'm going to go into in a second when you're in sport mode. If you want to use the normal mode, which I highly recommend for most drone users, you're staying at that 8 meters per second rate. And the tracking speed, that's the lateral tracking speed, but when you go vertical, I was getting about 3 meters per second as a limit on the vertical upwards, vertical downwards. And so that's going to, regulate what you can achieve in the battery life, but I'll ultimately probably burn a little bit less battery. Now, obstacle sensing, this is a huge one, right? So we've got a big change here. So the DJI Neo had pretty much downward vision as it's kind of only object sensing. Huge design change with the DJI Neo 2, and it's a massive, massive deal, is omnidirectional object detection. So LiDAR, infrared, monocular, all going on, and this works really, really well. I've let it active track me walking through low branches. I've careered towards trees. I've had it following a push bike as it's ridden onto the road and everything like that, and it is a huge, huge improvement. And for beginners, one of the biggest things you don't want to do is find your drone at the top of a tree or destroyed on your first go. With the omnidirectional obstacle sensing isn't going to get you out of complete danger. For example, my son, at one point, I was tracking him and he was running full pelt, and he hit a branch, and then the branch kind of flicked back behind him. That hit the drone. It wasn't able to deal with that super rapid, fast movement. But it's going to get you out of the vast majority of situations safe and sound, which is great. Gesture controls have improved. So it's on basic gestures in the DJI Neo 1. We've moved up to advanced gestures. Yes, you can use 2 palms now, and you can do a breaststroke to make it go out or in, depending on how you swing your arms. And I'm not sold on it as being the most awesome way to control it, but it does work, and it's now more advanced. You now also have voice control as well, so you can do that via your phone, or you can Bluetooth connect a mic, the DJI mic, for example, mini mic, which I'm actually using right now. I'm recording this, will sync and work, which is cool. But what voice controls will understand, I'm not 100% clear on. There tends to be no information to say, these are the words you can say. I haven't found it in the documentation anywhere. Maybe I've just missed it. Maybe it's deep in the tutorial somewhere. Now for first person view support, you've got basic first person in the DJI Neo. Now in the DJI Neo 2, we get motion controllers and goggles that you can use. This is obviously really, really cool, but it's a significant added expense. Like I said, it's $989 for the Fly Combo kit that has just the motion controls, and that doesn't include the goggles. So that's something to note. I'll talk about this a little bit more when we go through the design of the device, but you've now got a display for the onboard shooting mode, which is great, so you can see exactly what you're selecting. In fact, the buttons on the design are awesome as well. Just make it a lot easier to just put it on your palm, fly, get a shot, and put it back on your palm without ever, whipping out your phone or doing anything else like that. That's where this drone really shines. You've got some selfie shots now, so you'll get a waist up, a full body, and a long shot. So it'll take 3 different shots when you set that mode, as opposed to just basic selfie framing, which we've got in the DJI Neo. We've also, in the DJI Neo, you had quick shots only. With the DJI Neo 2, you also get a dolly zoom as well as quick shots. Now, you will see master shots also in the press material, and certainly the press material I got said master shots. I can't find it. And from a bit of research, it suggests that it's not live, at least at launch. So if that's something that's coming, that might be something that's coming. Okay, now let's talk about actually flying the device around. Now, wind resistance is up to level 5, which is considered 24 miles per hour or 20 knots, is what Australians prefer to read it as, I would say. Now that's up from a level 4 rating on the DJI Neo, which is about 15.5 knots. Now, I found it's been quite reasonably sensitive to wind. I reckon anywhere between 15 and 20, it starts issuing strong wind warnings and starts saying, hey, lower your altitude or go back home, because I don't think I can get you back if things stay this windy. So slight improvement there, absolutely, and that's good, but it's not to the standards of the more expensive drones. Flight time's interesting because the battery has increased in size, and that's I'm going to talk through this in the battery test a little bit more. But so on paper, it goes up to 19 minutes, whereas the DJI Neo went up to 18 minutes. In the real world, that's a lot different. So just hang on, wait to get to my battery test, and I'll go through that in detail. And one of the big additions, I think, is the internal storage. So we've now got 49 gigabytes, which is a fair chunk of internal storage in the device itself. So there's no SD card slot, which is a bit of a bummer. That does take some flexibility away and make things a little, I guess, more unwieldy when you're trying to transfer files or keep files safe. But there was no internal storage on the DJI Neo, and with 49 gigabytes of storage, from what I've seen, that's somewhere in the vicinity of 1 hour and 40 minutes worth of footage at 4K, 60 frames a second. So heaps of footage that you can store on there realistically, easily a day's worth if you're just throwing it up every now and again, taking some shots, and way more than the battery can actually do anyway. We've also got Wi-Fi transfers now up to 80 megabytes a second. That was not supported on the DJI Neo. It uses the new RCN3 remote as opposed to the RCN1 remote, as I went through before as well. And like I also mentioned before, there's a reasonably significant price increase, almost, well, depending on where you could get it, but about $100 on the base model. Okay, so let's talk about the design of the DJI Neo 2, and in particular the differences with the DJI Neo 2 versus the DJI Neo 1, which I have right here. So we've got the Neo 1, and I've just got the old controller that came with the DJI Neo 1 as well. Now I'll just quickly show you this because there's not really anything to see. The remote, I've got more or less exactly the same footprint. To my eye, the RCN3, which is the new one here, is slightly bigger, but it's marginal. To the point where I've left the sticks in just so I can see which is which. So we don't need to talk about them too much anymore. Let's just look at the drones themselves. Now, as you can probably see, it's a significantly bigger device. And as I mentioned at the top, we have a 20 gram, roughly, increase in weight, but the size is actually more than you'd think. In terms of the 20 grams, it actually looks bigger than that weight difference would suggest. And then when you add this dongle on top here, which you can see with the two little ears coming off it, or little antennae, that adds another, I think, 9 grams to bring it up to 160. So let's talk about the big changes here. Now, the usability and functionality of this DJI Neo 2 is significantly better than what you got with the DJI Neo 1. And when you hold them side by side and look at the differences and the changes that have been made, you can really get a sense of, hey, this is a Gen 1 device, and here we go, we've made all these great improvements and taken things another level. Thanks for spending all your money with us. We've invested it in R&D. Now, what we've basically got here with the DJI Neo 1 is a different size battery. That's important to note. You're not going to be able to use your old battery in the new one. It's a different size. It's not going to slot in. We've got these downward sensing cameras here, as you can see, and that's pretty much it for your object detection. Now, when we look at the DJI Neo 2, you'll see we've got object detection here, much bigger sensor as well, and we've got more here as well. And so we're getting a lot bigger feel for their environment, and that's giving us that object detection that's making it basically not crash into trees. The battery design is on the top as opposed to underneath, and we've got separate buttons this time. So before we kind of had, here you can kind of see it's all, the battery's at the bottom, the buttons are at the top, and there's nothing on, you can see under here, there's nothing along that bottom ridge. With the Neo 2, we've got the battery at the top. That gives you an opportunity to just kind of easily find out how much battery life you've got left. And then your function buttons are down the bottom. And you'll see here a little red button. That's going to be your kind of manual mode. You can just hold that, it's just going to take off and off you go if you're controlling by the remote. Or you can toggle through these to do, without having a phone connected or the remote connected, to just do shots. Okay. Now you can probably see there, hopefully you can see there, it's coming up, 2 screens on the front. And the screen on this side has got a bit of a menu, and you can cycle through that menu with these 2 little buttons here. And that allows you to switch between the various modes. Rocket. Circle. Droney. Selfie shot. Follow. To me, the gimbal looks a little bit freer than it did in the DJI Neo 1. It's just a little bit more, that's where you're kind of seeing that extra stabilization, I think, a little bit of a slightly bigger sensor. You can also see the blades are a lot bigger. Now the noise is reduced, but it's still quite loud. And I was flying this at maximum altitude, which is 120 meters on this. So my Mini 4 Pro will go up to 500. This one will only go up to 120, and at 120 I could clearly still hear it. So it's not going to be a stealth. You're not going to be flying this into your neighbour's yard and hoping no one hears it. Not that you should be doing that. But overall, I also like the colour. I think that it's a nice colour change. This kind of, I don't know, it's like off beigey thing is a bit like a toy. It's not, it's never a great colour in my opinion. This kind of, stealthy grey thing looks a bit more boss, and I like it. I think the colour change. I think it signifies something that's a step up as much as anything else. I'd also like to point to the little dongle at the back here. So this actually comes off. It's plugging into a USB-C. Oh, I can't remember how to release it. Should have practiced that. Oh, I'm not going to break it. There is a little release, I think. Anyway, it comes off, and it's just in the USB-C, kind of like the bottom of the Pocket 3 is, where you can just take it off or on, and the USB-C then flows through it, but then you add this transmission dongle. I don't know if it's a core transmission dongle, that's what I call it. So what this is going to do is give you a range. So basically this takes the reliance off the connection to your phone and your phone's connection to 4G to do all your tracking, and then uses DJI's proprietary transmission technology to basically enhance that signal much more. So this it's very confusing, and I'm doing this prior to launch. It's very confusing to me who gets the dongle and who doesn't, like which kit. I think it's different regionally. Like I said before, like some regions get shoulder bags, some regions don't. Some regions get this transmission dongle, some regions don't, and I'm not sure what tier. I'm not sure if the basic model, so if you just buy that $409 basic drone, boom, in your hand, I don't know if that comes with a dongle. It was in my Fly More combo pack. So I think this is a pretty vital piece to the puzzle. I think you want that transmission strength. It's going to give you such big peace of mind. And certainly when I've done some range tests and taken it, you know, like over, you know, a couple of kilometers away, I felt much more secure having that on it. I don't even know if it would have made it without it. All right, so that's how we look at the design changes. So let's get into some real world tests. So without a doubt, where this device absolutely shines, and it's literally what they've made it to do, is just have that out of the box, unbelievable drone experience where you can just launch it off your palm and get the footage that you may want. What's really cool about it is that it allows you to do shots without holding something in your hands. And I've done a lot of drone shots, especially with my travel content. And you should go check out my travel content, absolutely. It's on a different channel, but I'll link it below. And you know, in all the drone shots that I've ever taken as things, I'm always staring down like this, you know, like staring at the screen, trying to make sure I'm getting what I want to see, making sure I'm not crashing into anything, doing all kinds of stuff. You're not just kind of out, you know, looking at the world around you or just interacting or playing or anything like that, because you're controlling the drone. So when this actually does all the control for you, that is a huge win just for anybody, not just for beginners. That's just great for me, especially when it's shooting in 4K. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you just how easy it is. So I'm going to set it to droney mode. So
selfie shot.
So it's just these two buttons. I don't know, hopefully that's coming through to here. So I've got selfie shot, follow, rocket, it's going straight up, circle, droney. So circle you should know, droney's going to like move away from me. Like, and then if I hold down one side, I can choose a menu item, and I can switch between the lengths.
10 meters.
10 meters.
10 meters.
Oops, I went back to the same one.
6 meters.
6.
4 meters. 2 meters. 20 meters.
So I'm going to go 20 meters back, and then if I hold down the other side, it'll switch across.
2 meters.
Oops, sorry, I can't see the buttons when I'm doing this. Put it back to 20.
4 meters.
And then I'm going to hold that down for a little bit. It's going to switch to the other option.
Flat.
I can go flat, it'll just go straight back, or
rise.
Rise. So we're going to do rise. Okay, and then I'm going to get off the menu by just holding down the orange button, and then just press it.
4 meters. Droney. 3, 2, 1.
And they look at me, and it's doing a tracking shot back. It's 4 meters. I don't know why it switched to 4. I must have bumped it just before I did it. And it's going to come back to me like so after it's taken the shot. Put out my palm. Boom. Pretty cool, eh? All right, let's try another shot.
20 meters. Droney. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, you can see me. Let's turn on the recording. It's flying back. Hopefully you can see that going up there. Going back 20 meters for a big tracking shot. And then she's gonna come back to me. That's so cool. Straight back to me, whoom. How bloody cool is that? Seriously, I think it's just awesome. So we can do circle shots, we can do a whole bunch of different shots, and there's more shots available to you once you get into remote control as well. But like, let's try the selfie mode, so we'll try that.
Selfie shot.
You know why? It's because I
Low
did
angle and full.
one set, that's why. So let's go across to one set.
2 sets. 3 sets.
3 sets. And then I'll go across here.
Full. Wide. High angle and wide.
Let's do high angle and wide. All right.
High angle and wide. Selfie shot. 3,
2, 1. It's really quite windy at the moment too. So I don't know if you can see that right now. It's got it's angled like that because it's trying to keep the gimbal straight and the wind's howling across the top of it. I love this thing. So cool, huh? So yeah, that's a kind of some real world, just basic, without any sort of remote control, just being able to do whatever I want. And you can kind of then use the remote set on active, or you can set on follow. Let's do that. We'll do follow. Go into the menu.
Rear left.
Rear left.
Left. Front left. Left. Rear left. Left.
Let's just do left. Let's see if we can stay to the side of me. See if we can work that out. Okay. And then
Close. Far. Medium.
medium distance.
Low angle. Flat. Low angle. Low angle.
Oh,
Flat. High angle.
high angle. Okay, so that's what we're going to try and do. All right.
Left. Follow. 3,
2.
2, 1.
There we go, it's following me. Okay, so right now I'm going to show you, this time, I'm going to show you how the gestures work. So, got it set to just follow me from the front, so we'll just launch it. Oh.
Front. Follow. 3, 2, 1.
Gets a look at me, starts recording, backs off, right? Now as soon as I put up my palm, the light's going to go blue, and now I can tell it what to do. I can tell it to go up, I can tell it to go down. So you move it over a little bit so you can see it, hopefully. Up, down, up, down. It's pretty, not bad, is it? Okay, and then if I want it to go away, 2 palms, send her away. Then send it up. Okay, and the whole time it's tracking on me. Now I want it to come forward. It comes like that. Like so, and if I want it to land, put up my palm like this. So good. Okay, so let's talk about the battery experience here on the DJI Neo 2. So one of the things is it's a new battery size, so it's not the same as the battery that you would have got on the DJI Neo if you had that. So that's a bit of a bummer. It means that if you've already got the Neo and you're hoping that you'd, already have a couple of spare batteries ready to go, that's not going to be the case. Unfortunately, it is a bit of a bummer, especially because even though it's got a bigger capacity, so it's got more amp hours than the previous Neo, you don't actually get a huge extension in battery life. In fact, DJI claimed 18 minutes with the DJI Neo, it's 19 minutes with the DJI Neo 2, so all of that for just 1 extra minute of battery length. But there's a lot more going on, so I can see potentially why it's draining more battery, even though there's more battery capacity, and that's kind of bringing it back down. Now the reality is, if you want to get 19 minutes on this, you're pretty much just going to have to find somewhere where there's absolutely no wind and just hover it and not do anything. And you might get to that 19-minute mark. That's obviously not a real world use case. And certainly every single time that I've powered up and turned it on, it hasn't even started at 19 minutes. As soon as you take off, it's like already down to about 12 or so. But we're going to do a bit of a couple of tests here. So at the moment, you can't really tell down here, but up there's a bit of a breeze going on. Now it does have a stronger wind tolerance than the Neo. It's up to a wind tolerance of 5. I'm not sure what the metric is there. Up from 4 with the DJI Neo 1. But what I've found is that that's still quite low, and it doesn't take too much of a stiff breeze for it to start going, hey, strong wind warning, we're panicking here. But anyway, what I'm going to do on the first test is I'm just going to send it straight up. I don't know, it can go up to 120 meters. That's kind of the ceiling on it. I've got a feeling at 120 meters it's going to be too windy for it, but we'll see how we go. I'll try and get at least 60, and I'm just going to let it hover there until the battery runs out, and we're going to see how long it lasts. So that's just going to give you some real world use case of if you were doing some shoots where you're just flying it up and trying to get some top-down perspectives, maybe on a campsite or a sporting game or whatever it happens to be. That's going to give you a bit of an idea of what you're going to get there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a new battery because I've got the Fly Combo kit, so I've got these 2 extra batteries here, and I'm going to fly it basically more down head level, maybe 3 or 4 meters, slightly higher, and just go up and down this space that I've got here and just see how many laps I can do. So that'll be fighting the wind on the return lap, going with the wind on the back lap, but obviously moving. And we're going to see what kind of battery length we can get out of it there, and hopefully be able to give you a real world indication of how long you're going to get. Now the range with the N3 controller that I've got that came with it in the Fly More combo can go up to 10 kilometers. Now my thought pattern here is I'm going to do a range test video as well, is that it's not going to make it to 10 kilometers before that battery goes down. In my tests so far, just mucking around with the kids, doing some active tracking, weaving in between the trees, just mucking around or something, the battery has drained quite quickly. We're talking 10 minutes or so, like constant movement style stuff, which is not much. But anyway, look, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's do the test and find out where we end up. Okay, so I've got the stopwatch going. It's also got the countdown on the actual phone. I can see, but that's going down a lot faster than per second rate. So I've been up now for 2 minutes, and I'm getting a 10 minutes to go warning at 82%. I've gone up to 120 meters, so it's quite high. I think it's quite interesting that I can still hear it quite clearly up there. So it is a louder sound than say like the Mini 4 that I've got. But yeah, so it's been up there for 2 minutes so far. Shame we've got 9 minutes to go, but it's going down a lot faster. Like I said, it's counting down in, faster than per second. So obviously there's gusts of wind that are going to play into it as well. But we'll see how she goes. What are we going to get to? Okay, so she's returning to home. So it's still saying that it's got 2.5 minutes worth of battery left. I've just hit 9 minutes on the stopwatch. So at about 8:40, I think it's beeping because it's coming back home. It's 8 minutes 40 was when basically it started to go, hey, I need to go home now, or I'm worried I won't make it. So it's still going, but it is returning home. So if you were using this in a real world example right now, whatever you were doing, you'd have to stop anyway and come down. And it's coming down now from 120 meters. It's getting it didn't get any strong wind warnings when I was up there, but it's got some strong wind warnings on the way down, which I suspect is it going, hey, I'm a bit worried about the battery life. Anyway, so I'll go make sure she lands safely and then we'll have a chat. All right, so there we go. She's just landed back in my hand. Just put your palm out and it just lands perfectly in your palm. It's really cool. So the stopwatch is saying 10 minutes and 15 seconds in total. And like I said, it started coming down at about 8:40. So you really got 8 minutes and 40 seconds in this environment, which isn't going to be the same as yours, but just as an example of a real world test. So that just went straight up to 120 meters, sat there, hovered, didn't move, just sat exactly where it was. And then at 8 minutes 40, it went, I want to come home now. Now, interestingly, it still said it had about 1.5 to 2, I think it's about 1.5 minutes. When I glanced down, battery left on it, that's what it's showing on the display when I landed in my hand. But having said that, you don't want it running out of battery halfway back to home. So I'd appreciate it coming back with some battery left in store, then not making it back and landing somewhere out in the fields. So anyway, that was the first test. So 19 minutes advertised, reality 8 minutes 40 on a reasonably gusty but not too strong windy day, just hovering in the park. All right, let's do the second test. Okay, so I've just finished the second battery test and we've come in with a 9 minute 30 result. And I'd say it's actually probably pretty similar. Now in that particular test, I was just zooming around full pace the whole entire time. I did some active tracking, went up to about 12 meters down, weaved in between the trees, got the object tracking, omnidirectional object tracking going as well, just to see, basically put it through what I think would be a typical use case. You're down at the park with your kids, you throw it up into the air, and you drive around, dodge some trees, film the kids doing some stuff, dealing with a bit of light wind, nothing outrageous, and the result was it started coming back at 8 minutes 40, which is exactly the same as when I just chucked it in the air and put it up. But it wasn't as far away, so it got back to me at 9:30, but it still had about a minute and a half with the battery left on the device, but it was already returning to home. Now that return to home thing, at least in the normal mode, isn't a choice. You don't get to just ignore it and keep going. So, so that's a real world figure. So yeah, obviously a fair bit less than the 19 minutes that is advertised. Not surprising, I'm sure those were under perfect conditions. But yeah, so you're looking at less than 10 minutes from real world tests in my experience with the DJI Neo 2. So what does this mean? It means, I think, for most consumers, getting that fly more combo is probably the way to go. You just want to have that kind of extra battery pack available to you, because if you're at a birthday party, let's say, it's a typical thing for a starter, or if you're a creator just getting started and you're on a bushwalk or something and you want to throw it in the air, obviously you're not going to fly it for 10 minutes straight. You might fly it, get a tracking shot for a minute, throw it, get another tracking shot, stuff like that. If you're just mucking around and experimenting, but then you're walking off, into the bush somewhere, you've got no power on you, having those extra batteries is going to give you, in my experience, about half an hour from between the 3 batteries, which is ample amount of opportunity to get some good footage. Now I will say it's got the 49 gigabytes worth of storage inside of it, and that's a huge amount. So even shooting at 4K at 60 frames a second, you can shoot up to 100 frames a second if you want, slow-mo and all that, but at 4K 60, which I think is probably the max most people want to use, that's what I use on my travel vlogs, is going to give you about an hour and a half's worth of footage storage. So that's a lot if you're only running a battery for 10 minutes at a time. And obviously if you drop down to 1080p, you're getting even longer than that, significantly longer than that, in terms of the amount of footage you're going to get. So I think the internal storage is awesome, but it significantly outweighs the battery life. And what's really interesting is that if because it's not an SD card, it's just stored on the device. There's no SD card slot for you to kind of take or swap around. You really want to be thinking about getting your content off this before you throw it up again. So while it's handy to have 49 gigabytes worth of storage available to you, even at the high settings, by the time your battery runs out, you're probably only going to have about half an hour's worth of footage, or 10 minutes if you've only got one battery. And at that point, you really need to go get it off, because otherwise, the next time you fly it up, she might crash, go into the water, like things happen with drones. Trust me, I lost the best footage from Ha Long Bay because it went into the creek. So, yeah, I think that's kind of interesting. What you can do though, if you've got a USB-C, is just plug it into your phone and just act like a hard drive. Just go to your files, swap it over to your phone, or do it through Wi-Fi if you want, a slower method, and just transfer it across and send it back up. Right, okay, let's talk about range. Now, I did do, when I was first mucking around with it, I took it down, did some range tests and everything like that. And I actually went down to try and just film a whole range test to get live in time for this review, but I've just had no luck with the wind. And this thing is pretty sensitive to the wind. So it's got a 20 knot maximum limit. And I tend to find that it starts doing strong warnings when the forecast is telling me it's closer to 15, 16, but obviously that could not be accurate. It could be gusty. There could be lots of reasons that might not be reaching a full 20, or maybe it is, and I can't tell from where I am standing on the ground. The point of the matter is I couldn't get the footage together, so keep an eye on the channel and I'll see if I can do an actual proper range test and just film the entire thing and all the way back for you. However, I can tell you, I reckon the biggest kind of limitation here is the battery size, not so much the range that you can actually get. So the remote control can do up to 10K. What I find is you're about 2K is what I found from my testing. At that point, I was kind of feeling like I needed to return to home, or it was a forcing issue. Yeah, so I think that you could probably, if you really wanted to push it, 2Ks, maybe on a perfect day, you can even push it to 2.5, even more. In a really less than ideal situation with lots of structure around, maybe you can only get less than that, but the point is that you can get a lot further than flying it across the park, and that's going to give you that flexibility to use it while you're traveling, maybe down at the beach and you want to get a big tracking shot down the beach. You can now fly over water because it's got the object detection has been leveled up, So you've got, you might be at a lookout and you want to fly it off the top of the lookout and get some shots like this. It's going to do that. You know, I think for most people that this is aimed for, that kind of range is going to be perfectly fine. Like I said, it's the battery, I think, which is the main limiter, because as I went through with my battery tests, you're looking at about eight and a half minutes if it's right above you before it wants to come back. You fly it that way for about 4 minutes, it's going to want to come back. So that's going to give you a bit of an idea of how far you can get. And then the wind conditions and all that kind of stuff comes into play as well. So that's the range experience. In terms of the controller experience as well, in order to get any decent range, you're going to want this transmission dongle, which I've mentioned. That's not necessarily going to be included in the pack that you get, so make sure you check that and make sure that you're getting, you know, a pack that's going to include that, because that's going to give you your range. I have used just the mobile phone, so taken the controller out of the equation, taken that kind of on device button controls out of the equation, and just flown it around with the phone, and it's awkward. There's lots of different options on there. It's kind of, the interface is quite cool and detailed, but you're using virtual sticks. My thumbs kept landing in the wrong spot. You can't be very dexterous on it. Look, maybe if you're a younger gen dude who's been, or dudette, who's been playing, it's the first time I've said dudette in like 30 years, who has been playing video games on phones their entire life, maybe you're going to be better than me. I don't play video games on phones. I can't stand it because of those tiny little virtual sticks. But yeah, it's not a, you can't control a device nearly as well on the phone as you can with the remote. I think that makes sense. Okay, so right now I have the DJI mic synced up, so hopefully you can hear me talking through this perfectly fine. I can see the little microphone going ding 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 ding. So we're going to actually just see what kind of range we can get on this and what it sounds like, especially if she's moving. Okay, alright, let's see if we can go up. I'm just going to keep talking. I'm going to count the meters. 10, 20, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. And we've got the strong wind, doesn't like that, so I'm going to come back down and we'll see whether or not the audio has come through or not. Okay, so we're back down to 50 meters, back down to 45, 40, 35 meters, 30, 25, 20, 15. Okay, let's see if that mic worked out well or not. So in general, I found flying the drone to be just a stack of fun and really quite easy. It's just a little bit confusing, the dialogue you have between the user interface and yourself. It's very different to anything else you might have experienced if you're into the drone thing for the first time. So I think there's despite being a beginner's device, there is what I would call a reasonably steep learning curve at the beginning. Just understanding even how to turn it on is a bit different from anything else that you may have done. It also just kind of cycling through the modes and working out how all those work and how to put your palms and everything like that. Once you work it all out, it works really quite well. I've been pretty happy with the active tracking. I've found it, like, I've walked through some pretty dense growth and it's been fine, and I've walked through it again and it's got stuck. But when it gets stuck, it just sits there. It doesn't try and do something stupid. There was another time when my son went running through those trees that you can see behind me out there, weaving in and out, and it followed him all the way until it got to a point where it couldn't, and it just stopped, had a look around for a while, and I pressed, well, let's just go home. I just pressed the go home button, and then it navigated its way up and over all the trees and came back and landed down in one piece. So I think generally it does a pretty good job of what you're trying to achieve anyway, but if you just push it a little bit too far, it then protects itself with those new omnidirectional cameras and gets back to you in one way or another anyway. So I think overall it's pretty awesome. I think some of the features that you can use directly off the palm, so the palm launching stuff, where you just kind of like do selfie, bang, send it up, right? That kind of stuff is actually easier to navigate here on the device than it is through the phone. Well, definitely through the phone when you're using it with a remote controller. And I think that's something they could work on. I'd love to just be able to use those types of techniques when I'm also using the remote, as opposed to actually finding it easier to use just straight off the device itself. And I guess it depends on how you're going to use it, right? Because if you're going to get that remote, which is going to give you the best control experience, like it's definitely, if you can afford it, it's definitely worthwhile, is going to, you know, also limit some of the things that you can do. So I would really like to see what they call it, the intelligent shooting modes, and that more straightforward and easily accessible on the UI when you're using the remote. I think that's something they could definitely work on. But overall, do I recommend the DJI Neo 2? And I absolutely do. I think that the nuts and bolts of what it's trying to achieve, palm controlled device that anyone can just launch and get a great shot with, at a really attractive price point. Like I think there's really good value for money. What this delivers, yeah, it nails it. It does a really, really great job. Could the sensor have been bigger and given us some better performance, low light, better dynamic range? Yeah, absolutely. Would you pay another $500 for that? Well, just go get the Mini 4 Pro or the Mini 5 Pro, because that's going to give you that experience once you've stepped up from being a beginner to something you want a little bit more of. But I've got to tell you, as someone who uses a drone a lot and does a lot of you know, like travel drone footage where I'm really trying to get out and about with this, you know, I've taken the thing 12 kilometers off, you know. I'm actually going to be using this as well, because I just think that functionality of just being able to pop it up off your palm and get a really cool tracking shot, a couple of selfies, have it follow you around an area without having to be face deep in a remote is just so damn cool that I'm going to actually want to use this as well. Which is kind of why I'm a little bit disappointed it didn't come with a carry case or something. Maybe I can fit it in with my other drone. But yeah, overall, super excited by this device. Is there some things that could be done better? Yeah. Will you hit the ceiling of its limitations? You will, once you've got used to it. But for the type of person that it's aimed at, and I think people even like myself who are a bit more experienced, I don't consider myself to be a drone expert by any stake, but I'm used to flying more powerful drones than this. Even for me, I think there's so much to offer here. So yeah, DJI Neo 2, I think it's really, really cool. All right, I'm Chris Stead. Make sure you keep an eye on the channel. Plenty of content going up around this, just some extra content comparing the specs with the original, things like that, unboxing. You can go check those out. Other drone content, of course, and make sure you go check out my travel content. I'll put a link below, but it's motivated_travel if you want to go check that out as well. I've got videos going up from all over the world. All right, I'm Chris Stead. Till next time, check you later. You.